Hello folks, my name is Carl and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. Please consider subscribing to the channel as it really helps me out a lot. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for the support so far. Now let's talk about today's video. It is a known fact that most international students in countries all over the world always try to pick up some part-time jobs to help them with their living expenses or even with their tuition. It is the same case here in Canada. Most students that come to school here in Canada always try to get some jobs to help them with their living expenses or with their tuition. But as I've already stated in my previous video, there are certain requirements that are placed on international students or people with student visas regarding the number of hours that they can work in Canada. I did say in my previous video that students are only allowed to work a maximum of 20 hours per week. Now that is going to change this fall. The change is expected to be effected this September of 2024. But currently students are only allowed to work 20 hours per week. Okay, full-time hours is 40 hours per week for most people, and students are allowed to work only half of that. That is supposed to change from 20 to 24 hours sometime this month or next month. However, when school is on vacation or school is on break, students are allowed to work unlimited hours. But school is in session for longer periods than when school is on break. So it is very difficult for students to make enough money while school is in session because they're only allowed to work part-time. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing or looking at some high-paying jobs for international students or even for newcomers. People that are new to Canada can consider these jobs as well. But we are going to be looking at these high-paying jobs that students should consider and that can significantly boost their earnings. Because most students work in part-time jobs that often pay minimum wage. The minimum wage currently in Canada, depending on the province or territory you're in, the minimum wage varies between the ranges of $15 to $17 per hour. But some of these jobs, and you might want to stick around to the very end, some of these jobs pay very well, with some paying as high as $30 per hour. Stick around to the very end and I will share those jobs with you. Now, for job number one, as an international student in Canada, one of the jobs that I think that you should consider is working as an administrative clerk. Now, as an admin clerk, your salary could range from $20 to $22 or even $23 per hour. Now, some even go higher than that, but this is basically the median salary. So that is way above the minimum wages that I mentioned of somewhere from $15 to $17 per hour. Now, as an admin clerk, you could do a lot of things. You could have a lot of duties to perform. You would be expected to work in an office environment. Often you'd be required to go in person rather than remote, even though you could get some remote admin positions. Now, some of the duties that you could expect as an admin clerk are: one, preparing correspondence, so email, letters, statements, and stuff like that, or operating office equipment such as photocopy machines or scanners or fax machines and stuff like that. Also, some of your duties may include answering phone calls or answering emails, and sometimes also processing forms and documents. Now, working as an admin clerk is usually basic work, especially for an international student. It's work that is often simple, it's stable, it's less mentally involving, so you're not too tired after a day at work. And that would help you as an international student to earn good money while being able to still have some time and energy for your studies. And another thing to take note is that most often admin clerks are in high demand. They are often in high demand in many provinces such as Ontario, Alberta. So always be on the lookout for those job postings, as many businesses and many offices need people to fill in those roles. Now, job number two. Now, the other job that as a student you should consider is working as a freelancer. Okay. Now, in Canada, freelancers earn somewhere around $23 to $24 per hour. This is significantly above the minimum wage as well. As a freelancer, you could work in a whole variety of industries. I mean, you're not limited to any industry at all. You could work in a variety of industries depending on your skill set. Okay, so if you're an international student with skills in digital marketing, with skills in coding, with virtual assistant skills, or even skills in graphic designing, you could work as a freelancer. Okay, now as a freelancer, it may not be as stable as working as an admin clerk, but as a freelancer, one of the advantages is that you work according to your own time and your own schedule. So if you're too busy during the school period, you might decide to take less work. And if you have more time or school is on break, you take on more work. So, you're more or less your own boss, sort of. And this helps students to balance the work and school. Okay, so being a freelancer helps you to do this. Now, as I'm saying, if you have any skills that you can leverage, consider going into freelancing. Okay, if you have any skills at all, consider going into freelancing. Look into websites such as Fiverr and other websites as well, such as Upwork. Okay, all right, now let's move on to job number 3. Now with job number 3, this also pays quite well and pays about $20 per hour. That is working as a post-secondary tutor. So if you're an international student in Canada, you can leverage your educational environment by seeking employment as a tutor. So at the post-secondary level, international students working as tutors can help other students learn about a subject that they are familiar with, allow them to use their expertise to help other students. Now, you could earn a good amount of money doing this. And as I stated, people that do this usually earn around $20 or even more, up to $21 per hour. Okay. Now, note again that these jobs, or this particular one, is way higher than the minimum wage. So if you're working as a post-secondary tutor, that could go a long way in helping you cover some of your expenses as well. Now stick around, because with number 5, I'm going to share with you a job that most people overlook that actually can make you about $30 per hour. $30 per hour. Anyway, before we get there, let's move to number 4. Now, number 4 is also quite actually a very, very, very good one. That is working as a teaching assistant. It is quite similar to a post-secondary tutor, but there's a difference. Now, TA jobs are easy for international students to obtain employment while pursuing their education. Now, this is because, the TA jobs are part of the on-campus jobs. Again, if you looked at my previous, or if you watched my previous video, I did differentiate between on-campus and off-campus jobs. And the fact that on-campus jobs are actually the kind of jobs that international students can do with no limits. So there are no limits on the number of hours for on-campus jobs, unlike off-campus jobs where if school is in session, you're only allowed to work 20 hours or 24 hours per week. Okay, so working as a TA can or is considered an on-campus job, and a TA, I'm sure most of you are familiar with TA jobs. A teaching assistant job is where students usually assist the professors or the lecturers with their research and other teaching needs, and allow students to become deeply involved in their study. And one of the advantages of working as a TA or working on campus is that, students that work as TAs or students that are able to secure employment on campus can save themselves not having to travel to work. One of the expenses, or the big expenses in Canada after rent, is, travel expenses. If you're taking an Uber, if you're taking, the bus system is quite okay when it comes to the fare that you pay. But if you're taking Ubers and you're having to travel often, yes, you would spend a considerable amount of money on that as well. So imagine you being able to secure employment in school. So then you will not need to commute much, and you will be able to maximize your savings as well. Now, let's move to the last one, number 5, which I think is a very, very, very good option for students. Okay, number 5, working as a translator. Now, do you know that people who work as translators make somewhere between $30 to $31 per hour? Yes, not 20, not 25, but $30 to $31 per hour. Now, what do translators do? So, if you are a student who has the ability and the confidence to speak multiple languages, you are sitting on a gold mine. Okay? If you have the ability or the confidence to speak multiple languages, please consider working as a translator, as it can be a good way to earn money while you're still schooling. Now, the advantage of being a translator is that you can actually work as a translator online. Okay, so you can be an online translator. Now, if you remember in my previous video, I did mention that if you are able to secure remote work with an employer outside Canada, then as an international student, you can work unlimited number of hours. Okay, the restrictions do not apply to you. And guess what? If you have these skills, if you have confidence in the ability to speak multiple languages, then you should consider working as a translator. And you can even go the extra mile of looking for online translation jobs. Because in those jobs, if your employer is outside Canada, then you could actually work for an unlimited number of hours. Another thing that I would like you to take note of is the fact that if you also know sign language, okay, if you know sign language, you could also get employment interpreting sign language, okay? So keep this in mind. If you have any skills, make sure you're able to leverage them to get some very good jobs in Canada. So as an international student or as a newcomer in Canada, these are some of the high-paying jobs that I want you to pay attention to. These jobs pay much better than minimum wage jobs, where you'd be working as a cashier. You could be working in restaurants as a waitress, and you may only be making minimum wage. So consider some of these jobs, and some of these jobs could help you maximize your earning potential and save. Help you cover your living expenses as well. So please do well to share this video with others that it might be useful to, and also consider subscribing to the channel, as it goes a long way to help me. And also leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and do not forget to like the video as well. As always, thank you very much for sticking around and watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.